All right, let's get into this, Dr. Button Pusher. This is number one from the New York Times, of all places, Tim. AntiTrump Burnout. The resistance says it's exhausted. Bracing for yet another election against Donald Trump, America's liberals are feeling the fatigue. Quote, we're kind of like crisis out. I don't even know.
You mean you're tired of the Russian spies and like and random dossiers that just magically appear, and then this phone call to Ukraine and I mean it's just never ending. Oh, and we can't forget about J6. I mean, I can imagine they're just crisised out. They're such low key individuals. It's not like they ever riot, burn cities, flip cars over, murder people.
Too soon.
Oh, okay, sorry. Actually, not, but
I'm not, because I rode my motorcycle today. Yeah, just stating the obvious. Yeah, it's they are so low key, as you said. And of course, we're saying that with tongue in cheek because the entire Tim. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, man. We're going on 7 to 9 years of nonstop outrage machine. I mean, right? Ever since Trump announced he was going to be running for office and. 2015. I mean, like they've been on the outrage since then.
Yeah, but this is normal. So you had Bush 43, and after he left office, we got 8 years of Obama. Those entire 8 years, they blamed Bush 43 for everything.
Well, no, that's true.
This is not new. It's just that the subject matter has changed a little bit. We went from Bush is responsible for all things bad, which he kind of sort of was responsible for a few of them, but then now we've gone into, now we got Orange Man bad and Russia collusion and he's taking bribes and he's doing this and he's doing that. And oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end. He wants to be a dictator. And they're just I think they're tiring of their own propaganda. I don't think it's an actual crisis, obviously, that they're burned out on. They're burning out on the narrative and the constant, super hyper. Oh my gosh, we're all going to die. And if this orange man gets in there, he's going to be a dictator. We're all going to die. We're going to be put in prison and we're not going to be able to do anything we want. And freedom's dead. Democracy's gone. Yeah, I can imagine that gets tiresome after what you said, 9 years.
I mean, I'm tired after doing it for 24 seconds.
I'm telling you, dude.
But you just hit something so powerful. This is so incredibly key to understand people, beautiful people, the second legacy. You get so burned out by having a crisis every 3 seconds, an existential crisis. Democracy is dead. This is the key. And understand, as we go forward, you're going to see this more and more and more. This is not going to change. You can quote me right now. They have to keep upping the shock value in order to scare you and get the same return on investment that they were getting before. If you become numb to the propaganda they've done on this spectrum right here, they've got to push it one step further in order to get the same return on investment. That's what we're about to talk about. You cannot run an entire movement or motivation or organization based only on fear. You cannot do it. It is not possible. It does not have that long-term availability. Now, it's intense in the short term.
Yeah. It's like in the military. You can't be on defense forever. You start to get lazy. You start to sleep on watch. Things bad start to happen. You can't just and we talk about this also within the 2A realm, right? When you have people out there saying, oh my gosh, there's an assault weapons ban. Yeah, it has zero chance of passing. But look, an assault weapons ban. Oh my gosh, everybody panic. Contact your reps. Oh my gosh. It's like, look, we can only do this for so long. So that's kind of one of the things that the tact we took early on with Second Legacy was like, let's take a look at what's actually out there. Take a look at what the reps are actually doing. Kind of assess what the actual likelihood of some of these things passing might be, and then call out the ones we're concerned with and put on the back burner those that we're not that worried about for that very reason, because you can't maintain that high level of amped upness for very long or forever because you do get the burnout.
Exactly. But you know what's so dude, man, this is, you should ride your bike more often. This is amazing. So you just hit on something so key, a perfect example of what we're talking about right here, but on the gun right side of the argument. Mm-hmm. For 4 years, we've had, they're coming for our rights. They're going to take our rights. And they've been saying it. It's not imaginary. They have clearly laid that out.
They want
to, yes, they want to, right. However, look at what happened when Trump got elected the first time after Obama was in for 8 years and he was railing against the guns for 8 years. Trump got elected, and what did we get? We got something called the Trump slump. Everyone relaxed on gun rights because they finally took a breather. You can't be outraged and this defense oriented for that long. And ironically, when that happened, you actually have more threats to your Second Amendment because all the energy was put on the front part.
Well, you get the old, he won't sign that. It'll never happen. It was kind of like, I lived through the 1994 assault weapons ban. And I remember being in gun stores and people are saying, oh yeah, Clinton's they'll never sign it. Congress will never pass it. Don't worry about it. Don't contact your rep. This is nonsense. It'll never happen. This is America freedom. And guess what happened? So yeah, you do have to pay attention, but you have to be able to get the lay of the land and assess things and focus your attention on the actual threats and disregard the chaff, because that will suck you down a hole where you get this fatigue. And then you get, like you're talking about, the Trump slump. And that carried over not just politically, but that also carried over into actual gun purchases. The Trump slump wasn't just a political slump. Nobody was buying guns and ammo either. They're just like, oof, we don't have to hoard anymore because the threat's gone. I'm like, people, can we now start contacting our representatives and try to get something positive
done? Push it the right direction. Push it in the right direction. No, we all just took a break. Yeah. Exactly right. So in summation, and we're going to get back to this in a second, but this is an amazing rabbit trail we're on. In summation, effectively what we're talking about is because the outrage and the energy was put so hard on the front end that when the time came where we actually had the opportunity to take gun rights back from the left, we were too tired and exhausted to deal with it. You have to put all your energy in the right places, as you just alluded to. The reason, I mean, a little bit behind the curtain, we talked about, you and I, second legacy and the idea of it. The entire purpose was to put energy where it was supposed to be, the most effectual, where it was actually a threat versus every single crisis area, and bring all the information and all the available research to bear to put energy in the right directions. And that is going to be much more effective in a return on our investment than having everything be an existential crisis. The 1,000% tax on ARs, for example, that wasn't ever going to pass, but there was still a lot of outrage over it, and it's fine to be upset. But again, at the same time, they were trying to pass assault weapons bans and background checks and red flag laws and universals, something that's much more feasible versus a tax for a right. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's key to really focus on that. But I think that was an excellent point. Good. Well done, sir. You know what? I'm impressed every time. Well, now let me give you some more examples here of some quotes that I want to get your take on here. Number 2, quote, "Some folks are burned out on outrage," said Rebecca Lee Funk, the Washington-based founder of The Outrage, a progressive activism group and purveyor of resistance-era apparel. "People are tired. I think last election we were desperate to get Trump out of office, and folks were willing to rally around a singular call to action, and this election feels different." The reason that one's important is she actually founded a place called The Outrage.
That's what I'm laughing at. It's like, merch. We're burned out on the outrage, says the founder of The Outrage.
The founder of The Outrage.
We're burned out on guns, says the manufacturer of firearms. It's like, these people are so daft, dude.
Really are, man.
It's like, literally, I say this way too often. We are living the storyline, the plot line of Idiocracy. These people are so mentally ill and so out of it. I mean, that they would actually go out there and be quoted saying this.
Yeah, exactly.
We're burned out on the outrage, says the founder of Outrage.
It's so weird. Right. And it's almost comical. Now, here's some more. Check this out. Number 3, quote, "We're kind of like crisis out," said Shannon Caseber, 36, a security guard in Pittsburgh, who called the prospect of a Trump-Biden rematch a dumpster fire. Not wrong, by the way. No, it's crisis fatigue for sure. I would agree with that sentiment. Everything's a crisis. Here's number 4. Quote, "They hear it every cycle. This is the most important election ever," said Leah Daltrey, a Democratic strategist. While she considers Mr. Trump an existential threat, she said people want to vote for something and not necessarily against something. I love how she did exactly what she's saying is a problem in that quote. But on the tail end, that is an extremely important thing. We've said it on this channel a lot. People want to vote for something, and they want to vote and be a part of something, not vote against something and be part of something against someone.
That's what we have to do in our two-party system. My entire life, the only time I voted for the candidate I truly wanted was Ross Perot, right back during the Civil War. That was the only time.
Back in the day.
Every other time I'm voting against somebody. And you don't know how many times for 20 years I lived like within walking distance of my polling station. And I would sit on election day. I'm like, I'm not voting for McCain. I am not voting for McCain. I can't do this. And then I think, well, I could just write in Mickey Mouse, but that's making a mockery of our system. I could vote for a third party, which will never have a chance, or I can just hold my nose and vote for McNasty and hope for the best. And that's no way to vote, right?
No, it's not.
We need more than a two-party system. I would like to have an actual choice. And we can agree on something here. We have two candidates. They're wildly unpopular. Nobody wants to see a rematch between these two.
And the other, either direction. One it's either oh my God no or oh my God no. It just depends on who it is.
Trump has more energy around him for sure, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He has a very loyal following. Biden, I would say 90% of his voters aren't really excited. They pretend to be. They try to hype it up like, no, he's not really falling downstairs. They don't really make him walk up the short stairs because he has a problem stumbling and he doesn't know where he's at 90% of the time. No, he's got all sorts of energy. He's vivacious. Look at him sprint. He took 2 jogging steps away from the podium before he fell flat on his face and mumbled for 20 minutes. It's like nobody's voting for that. They're voting against Trump, and that lands in Biden's lap. That's all it's happening.
That's what happened. That's what happened in 2020. I mean,
absolutely.
That's exactly what it was. Not a it was not a conversation around what's the best for our country. It was a conversation of who's going to destroy it the least. That was literally, and honestly, that kind of goes back to the Clinton era, like back to Hillary Clinton versus Trump. That was kind of the first time I was like, oh my goodness gracious. Because this is Trump 1.0, right? Like this is you don't know what's going to happen. Like this is interesting. So I had Clinton over here. And then I had Trump over here. I have a known, not happening, gross, not even a little bit. I don't like her at all. And then over here I had, well, that could be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you had the establishment crooked politician, and you had this potential huge wrecking ball that was promising to destroy everything and build it from the ground up again. And that was pretty exciting, although I'll admit this, I was a never Trumper. I did not believe for a minute he believed what he actually said because I had read his books.
Well, from the prior,
Democrat.
Right. He was a Democrat prior, right.
And I had a hard time reconciling things I know that he had said in the past, what he was saying on the campaign trail. I'm like, this guy is the Manchurian candidate. I'm not buying this right now. Turned out, he really wanted to carry out much of the stuff he was campaigning on. I didn't trust him though. But I don't trust politicians.
Well, right.
So,
but see, and I think that's an important thing for the people watching. This is not a bash Trump, anti-Trump thing. That is legitimately an observation that you made based off of past statements, past styles, past decisions.
Yes.
In contrast to what's being said in the short term, I completely respect.
I mean, seriously,
objective view of that.
The Clintons and the Trumps intermingled. They went to each other's weddings and stuff.
They were besties.
Yeah, you had Trump going on Oprah Winfrey decades ago and her fawning all over him, begging him to run for president. So yeah, there was a little bit of concern there for me.
Right. Anyway. And keep in mind, we're talking about 2015 going into 2016. We are not talking about anything now, right?
No. This was the original, what are we getting into here? You know
what that was? That was the time zone of, this is going to be the greatest country with the greatest gate, and it's going to be golden, and it's going to be great. And everyone's going, what's happening? Where am I? Anyway, that was a different time. It was so much. That was back in way back yesteryear. So now that we've chased 2 rabbits, that last one was a big rabbit. Listen to this. I think this is a fascinating quote back on that article. It's number 5. We've dealt with so many emergencies these past few years. National emergencies, perceived emergencies, real emergencies. It's just kind of like, that is not really a strong motivator for me anymore. This guy's a voter in Los Angeles. That's exactly what we just said. Fear cannot motivate for the long term because it loses its punch, i.e., increasing shock value. That's what everything that we are talking about is showing up in what these people are saying.
Right. Because look, you get desensitized. And this is something I remember them talking about years ago, when there was the slasher films that really became popular in the 70s and the 80s, right? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Freddy Krueger. And the more gory the more people wanted to see it. But then the next movie had to be gorier than the previous movie to draw that audience back in. And it got to the point where it was just nothing but pure gore, and there was no more storyline. It was just going from one scene to the next of just the most extreme gore they could come up with. And people finally burned out on it in its entirety because you couldn't make it any more gory.
Right, so, exactly.
Except it's just like, I mean, that kind of culminates.
Film. Yeah. Right. It kind of culminates in like Saw type videos where there is no real plot line. It's just who's going to get killed how.
Right. Yeah. And that's what they're talking about here. And it's the absolute truth. I mean, it's so funny. We dealt with so many emergencies, perceived emergencies, national emergencies, and then actual emergencies.
Right. I know. I'm glad you got that. I love that one. It was like national ones. That was horrible. Perceived ones. That was not real. And then real ones.
Yeah.
Oh, God, guys. And the last one to wrap this up, I think this is a great quote. It's the very end, and this is what we've been talking about, number 6. A lot of us would like a more positive thing to motivate us, not just purely do this, else this bad thing is going to happen. Could not wrap it up better.
But this is American politics and has been for many years.
I know it is.
Nobody comes out and talks about what their plan for the future is. All they do is come out and talk about that person wants to be a dictator. That person's going to take your Social Security away. That person wants to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid. That person wants to do this. That person wants it's constant lies and fear mongering and empty promises.
I'm going to push back on that. I'm going to push back on that real quick. You ready?
Yeah.
There's been one president in my lifetime that I would consider on the broad spectrum of perception, not my perception, but perception in general. That was a transformational figure. And that was Obama. Obama, he got elected and he ran completely on something called hope and change.
Hope and change.
He never did anything about that candidate will do this to you. It was all about the vision that he cast for the party and also for the nation. Now, I would never vote for the guy. I do not like the guy. I do not like his politics. I just don't like him in general. However, he did run on the hope and change, and he's the only one that has run on that type of messaging platform in my lifetime.
Yeah.
It's worth observing. I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, in my lifetime, I remember when Lincoln in the 1858 Douglas debates, he was pretty compelling. He
was quite the orator.
Oh, dude, he was amazing. He pulled up on his train, and we were all standing there, just got off our horses, took our dusters off. It was incredible. He was a very motivational speaker. I
miss those days. Where a politician could stand on the back of a train car in the middle of a train yard with horses and people all around, giving one of the most quintessential speeches ever from a piece of paper that he wrote and jot down on the way to the rally. It's like, well, I'm going to put this thing on this piece of paper that's folded weird. We're going to call it the Gettysburg Address because we're near Gettysburg and stuff, so that should work. It's just like, it's a simpler time, Tim. It was a simpler time.